Oh, I wore my hijab a year ago. Like I always told myself, like when I was 12, I always told myself when I turned 16, I'm gonna start wearing my scarf. And when I turned 16, I was like, oh, maybe I'll start wearing it when I go to college, this and that. When I was like, you know what, let me just do it now and like bite the bullet and just do it. And like I felt like, and like I want to be like closer to God, and like I want to like, cause I never been like really really religious until like around a year ago, even before when I wore hijab, before I wore hijab. So I was like, you know what, let me just like try to get closer to God. Also, like I want to, like I also like it was during like a very like bad time because like Trump became president. I was like, you know what, maybe I can show this as a protest of being Muslim, because like not a lot of people knew that I was because I didn't wear my hijab. So when I wore it, people were like, wow, she's Muslim. Like I didn't know. So yeah, that's like another reason. At the store, like even more people looked at me because like I live in a predominantly white town. People already look at me because I'm black, but they look at me even more when I walk into a store, like a gas station. They look at me like a lot, and like at the mall, they'll look at me like when I'm by myself. They think I'm trying to do something, or like, so like they even have like even more eyes on me because I have a scarf on. At school it was different, like because I had a lot of supportive people like saying like, oh yeah, if someone tried to do something to you, I'll defend you. Like it was a lot of like it was good, that was positive at school. But like in the like around like two of my friends, they started this club called Black Girl Magic, and we wanted to make a club where like black women, especially at my school, because it's predominantly white. We never see each other. We're never in like the same room or the same class. So we want to have a club where we all meet together. We talk about these issues in our community and like how to address like ignorance in our school, because we faced that a lot. We also wanted to mentor other black girls in like other grades in my district, and also like do like fun things together. And 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 for like a lot of teachers been supportive, administration's been supportive because they passed the club. Like I've seen some of my friends, like some of other races, been supportive, but there's obviously some people who will be against that. And there's people who try to report the club and tearing flyers down, writing a lot of like derogatory words on flyers. And like we've been reporting it, and administration said they will take care of it. How to teach teachers how to react when they see something racist in their classroom, and how to react to that, because I've seen a lot of situations where something racist will happen like between a white person and a black person, of someone white and like another person of color, and they'll handle it as just something like just regular bullying, because they'll send both of them to the office and both of them will get consequences. Even sometimes even the person of color will get more consequences than the white person, because the person of color will react more heavily in the situation. But in reality, of course, we'll act more heavy to the situation because we are the victims to that. We are the victims of racism. So of course we'll defend ourselves accordingly. So I feel like they shouldn't put racism and racial slurs in the same category as bullying, because it's a whole different ball game.
That implicit bias is something that people often are not even aware of. And so when you look at our school, and you went to our school, we have an all white staff here in a predominantly now student of color student body. So I always try to tell kids that we assume goodwill. That doesn't mean I'm not going to deal with it, but assume goodwill. Assume that this teacher is not doing it intentionally, but is doing it unintentionally, but still needs to have that conversation. And then we have that conversation. Just so you know, that is a district-wide thing right now, is this being culturally responsive. And it's asking people to stop and look at everything from their assignments to the language that they use. I always give them that option. I always give them a couple options. I say, what do you want to do? And I use the phrase, what can I do so that you can go back in that classroom and feel comfortable and welcome and safe? And so that may be, some kids will come in, they'll just vent, and then they'll say, you know what, I can go talk to this teacher. It's not a problem. I'll take care of it. Some kids say, I don't want to talk to the teacher. I want you to talk to the teacher. I say, do you want me to come? Do you want to come with me? Some say yes, as long as they have support. Some don't want to get the teacher in trouble, so my going doesn't work, but I might send Miss Davis, our social worker, with, or Miss Golkin, who's a teacher, so they're on the same level. But I give kids as many options as I can to talk to that teacher, and always, always, always we encourage them to use I statements. This is how I feel when you said this. This is how I felt in your class. This is why I feel uncomfortable. Not pointing the finger, again, that intention of goodwill. But we are who we are. And I always tell kids when I taught sociology, it's like taking a thing of clay, and every single thing that's ever happened to you in your life pokes another shape into that piece of clay until you come out looking like you and I come out looking like me. We might have tons of things similar, but we're going to be very different. And so I think it's hard to get rid of it. My struggle is that teachers need to at least be aware of it. And I would say most teachers, when they're aware of it or start thinking about it, realize that for all students to learn, they need to deal with it. So actually, for the last 2 years, this has been a huge focus, especially as our demographics change, but our teaching demographics don't change. In other words, our the kids coming into our school are often students of color, or another, and again, remember the rings of culture. It could be gender, it could be socioeconomic, it could be ethnicity, it could be age, so the teen culture. Since all those things are becoming really complex, we've worked really hard, and so literally every month we have some sort of training.
There's microaggression in Grandview that you can tell a lot in certain classrooms, depending on certain topics. You can pick up some things where maybe not the faculty as much, but some kids get surprised when you know as much as you know, or when you're vocal, they don't expect that, or they don't appreciate it, or they just simply, for example, at group projects, sometimes you can be talking and your opinions will not be as valid. It was mixed actually, because even the faculty was not very diverse. So when it came to topics of race, I was usually looked at, even though I don't really know the African American standard of the story. But I was, when the debate got too heated and I raised my voice or got too passionate, I was considered angry, and sometimes I was sent to detention for being too aggressive, even though I just raised my voice. But for some reason I was taken more aggressively than everybody else's, even though on the same volume I was seen as more aggressive. Whereas in some classes, anything that I said was thought to be very poetic and very, African woman, whatever. It was either like a fetishized situation or it was very microaggressive. It was never in between. Don't Before you call out sort of not like a black woman or like a person of color for being too aggressive, stop and think about exactly why and what they're doing, and see if other students are doing it and if they're getting the same repercussions. Because sometimes we have, especially in this country, you're raised differently depending on where you're from, and those things are very hard to overcome as time goes on. No matter how much you try, there's still going to be a little bit of inherent racism somewhere in that mix. So before you make a punishment, or sort of you call out your students for being aggressive or to shut them up, first think about exactly what they're saying, and if Todd or Jake can get the same amount of punishment, and just don't be quick to make rash judgments over somebody's reaction towards oppression, or sort of, yeah. I'll tell them to, I feel like in almost every college, I feel like, or just any situation, is this idea of people have the right to express themselves in any sense, but there's a difference between having the freedom to speak and to express yourself and then having the freedom to hate. I feel like here there's like, especially in this country, there's a lot of freedom to do whatever you want to do, but then in that comes people who feel free to just hang a Confederate flag in their room, in their apartments, or like just have Confederate flags flying around with a very heavy black population, or just just feel, have a way to monitor that kind of hate.
and it's like there's like rules against physical violence and all that, but there's not many rules that around sort of racial or equality violence that it's not physical but more psychological and microaggressive. So just find a way to combat that. Because, like I said, especially by high school, I'm the one who always got in trouble because I was more vocal about it. So you have kids completely silencing you or completely being flat out racist, and I call it out. And as I call it out, I'm attacking that person, I'm being aggressive, and then I get the sort of consequences that he should have gotten, or she should have gotten, or they should have gotten. So I think, yeah, teachers need to see that as the two different things, because they put bullying and racism in a very similar category. But bullying can be about sort of, it's a power thing. It's the same thing with racism, but the bullying is more, it can be for everybody. Like, it's not as pointed. And bullying can have two sides, and you can look at a situation and be like, okay, they're bullying, but then there were just physical violence and it was not necessary. But if you look at racism, for example, like the N-word holds so much power that I think punching you could not hold the same level of punishment. Like, so if somebody does say the N-word to you or calls you something derogatory and you stand up for yourself, you should not get the same amount of punishment as if you just had a fight over lunch money. It's not the same situation.